yeah, in the bunch. I was able to get a really job that I'm excited about.
Good morning.
And when I was kind of
Good
looking
morning.
at
We still have some people joining, so let's give it
a
just
lot
a minute.
of the aspects of kids from Ann Arbor to
Actually,
Chicago.
I think we're
So, I mean,
okay.
Morning.
Hi, Amir.
Morning.
Yep. Still hearing the beep beep that people are joining, so it's great. Okay, I think we're pretty good. So I think we're going to kick this off. Brittany Parks is our presenter or speaker today. She's going to talk about 6 ways to create an effective safety culture. Brittany has been a wonderful volunteer and supporter of the Michigan Lean Consortium. Any of you who were at the conference know that her and her husband did some of the icebreakers and had a booth, and she's just absolutely terrific. So thank you again for agreeing, Brittany.
Absolutely. My pleasure. I always enjoy supporting the MLC. So yeah, today we're going to talk about 6 ways to create an effective safety culture. And Jane kind of went over my background. Just for those of you who are not aware, I do have over 10 years of experience in health and safety regulatory and process improvement. I've worked in diverse industries and hold several certifications. And with all of that in my free time, I try to find time for traveling, spending time with my family. We have a 19-month-old that keeps us fairly busy. And my volunteer life outside of the MLC, my husband and I, we also co-coach a robotics team, a program from 12th grade all the way down to 3rd grade. So we don't get bored. We have a lot going on, but all of our passions. So, all right. So our goal for today is to learn the 6 crucial elements of creating a successful and positive safety culture. And I will let you know that this course I do offer as a 6-hour full course with hands-on activities. So for today with the 1-hour coffee chat, I have condensed it down some. But for anybody who is interested, I do have a full 6-hour course in this. So let's just start with what is organizational safety culture? So it's been defined in a variety of ways, but oftentimes it can be summarized as how people in the company behave when no one is looking. Ultimately, how people behave when no one is looking, and are they making the right decisions and following protocol that supports organizational safety culture. That is where we want to get to. And part of organizational safety culture, there are many subcategories, such as a flexible culture. So like the ability to anticipate system requirements. Having a flexible culture means being able to reconfigure the system to deal with the pressures that are acting at the time. Second would be a reporting culture. So we want people to have the ability to monitor people working in the organization, but ultimately feel completely comfortable to report threats or errors or undesirable conditions, as well as any near misses. These potential warning signs can provide managers with the vital information about the levels of resilience in the system and where the resilience may be eroded. Third would be informed culture. So the ability to respond the components of a system and know what they need to do and what is expected of them as part of the larger system. And fourth would be a learning culture. So like the ability to learn, the system can reconfigure itself based on what it has learned from past experience. And fifth would just ultimately just be culture. So people working in the system that trust that they will be treated fairly in the event of an unsafe act. And the key to a successful culture is just the acceptance of a new view or error. So ultimately with, the organizational safety culture, what we're looking for is for people to be flexible, feel comfortable reporting anything that they may see as a near miss, or just reporting an actual injury where they don't feel or they don't fear being written up or losing their job over some type of safety issue that could have potentially been an injury or illness in the workplace, or actually did lead to an injury or illness in the workplace and was never reported, and therefore could never be improved upon because it was not reported. So the 6 ways that I find with my experience and background and working in continuous improvement and safety and regulatory lead to these 6 ways. So one would be, and we'll go in a little bit more detail about each one, but the first one would be constructing a safety committee. The second one would be establishing safety metrics. We need to know where we're at to be able to improve upon, or know where our improvement efforts are making a difference. Number 3 would be create a formalized safety standards, policies, and procedures, including building safety into your standard work as well. And 4 would be build safety into daily management. So if we have daily management, like Gembas or review of metrics, we would want to build a safety component into that. 5th would be reward and recognition programs. And 6th would be just the commitment to continuous improvement. So let's go ahead and dive in. So the components to establish a safety committee would be establish your representatives, write a mission statement, define roles and responsibilities of that committee, set your goals, and set your cadence and agenda for the meeting. So an effective safety committee should be a representation of your company. It should include a mix of salaried and hourly employees and key stakeholders from different departments. It really should have a eclectic group of participants. Having a good mix of viewpoints can reveal different ideas and opinions. It can help you anticipate any potential resistance as well. When we take the time to include everyone at every level, it really reduces the resistance of the buy-in from where we want to be safety culture-wise. It should include at least 2 senior managers committed to the process of setting up health and safety. This could be your environment, health, and safety liaison. Sometimes continuous improvement specialists are also responsible for safety. Or sometimes I've even seen, actual directors or managers who also wear a couple of hats that are responsible for safety. But we should at least have 2 senior managers part of our safety committee. And these managers, they should be able to speak authoritatively on behalf of the business. Other members should either be interested volunteers or employees with the right skills or knowledge to help you. So when building your safety committee, think about the folks that are less resistant, and you want a few of those, but then also think of those folks that you find you may have some trouble with buy-in. And if you get them involved in the beginning and give them responsibility and a role, you'll find that the resistance would be a lot less, and they will actually become advocates for you for safety in your organization. Committee members should do their share by working to keep abreast of current issues, keep an eye out for potential problems, and come up with new ideas to tackle existing problems. Ultimately, the full purpose of the safety committee is, one, to increase and maintain employee interest in health and safety awareness and issue recognition. And two is to convince managers, supervisors, and all employees at all levels through awareness that they are primarily responsible for incident prevention in the workplace. Safety is everyone's responsibility. However, there should be a couple of managers or leaders kind of directing and leading the safety committee and culture movement. But the message to the entire organization is that safety is everyone's responsibility. And third is to provide an opportunity for free discussion of health and safety problems and have an avenue for corrective actions. Any questions on the safety committee portion before we move on? Okay. So how do we get started, right? Now we've identified our people on who we want to be a part of the committee and who has interest in being part of the committee, right? So a pyramid of strategy. We would want to develop a mission statement, right, for our safety committee. It needs to be a clear statement that supports the safety committee and states, you know, what is management and the people who are part of the committee looking for when they meet and put time and effort into meeting. What exactly are they expecting to get from the safety committee? A mission statement gives the safety committee guidance to meet the requirements of regulatory responsibilities, but also there should be some more alignment goals with what the people of the organization would like to see as well. The ultimate purpose is to help reduce the risk of workplace injuries and illnesses in compliance with federal and state health and safety guidelines. But we should really have, you know, some values in there on what does your organization stand for and what behaviors do they value, the vision, where are they going moving forward, what do they want to achieve in the future, what kind of future culture do they envision that they would like to strive for, and your mission. So what does your organization do today? Who does your organization serve? What is your organization trying to accomplish? And what impact does your organization want to achieve? So those are some key components that should be outlined to tie in your overall organizational values, vision, and mission, but also direction on what the safety committee would like to achieve and move forward. So this is just a couple of examples here of how a safety committee could be structured with different roles and responsibilities. Obviously, every organization has a different looking org chart and different roles, but these are kind of the main roles and responsibilities that I have found to be most successful for achieving of goals through a safety committee, and also the sustainability. So one should be a chairperson, and their responsibility would be to coordinate and conduct meetings, be familiar with general principles and concepts of MIOSHA or OSHA, and assign resources to safety initiatives. Second would be a vice chairperson, and this role would be responsible to coordinate and conduct meetings as directed by the chairperson, be familiar with general principles and concepts of MIOSHA and OSHA, and assist the direction of the committee. And then we have our general members, and those general members could be folks that we identified as being good candidates, and then also those folks that we identified that we may find may be resistant, and we want to bring them on board from the beginning, and just general members who are interested in being a part of the safety committee. And keep in mind that we also want it not only to be diverse between like all different types of roles, but also different departments as well, because there's safety in every role and responsibility in an organization, even if it's an office setting. And so these general members, this would be their opportunity and avenue to provide feedback on methods to increase and maintain safety awareness. They could be responsible for conducting safety inspections within their area and maybe eventually on a rotation of other areas, and ultimately influence others to work safely. They can be your ambassadors, your advocates for the mission and goals that the safety committee is trying to achieve. They'll share information and suggestions. There should be someone who's responsible for reporting some metrics, managing the metrics, preparing and report out during safety committee meetings. A project lead, someone who can timely follow up on problems and recommendations developed by the safety committee. We really want to focus with the safety committee not only having an avenue for generating ideas and solutions and thoughts, but we also want to take the initiative and put some energy in following through on some of those ideas and thoughts to where we actually see some movement and some change. And maybe you might have a secretary, someone who maintains and records and disseminates minutes for each meeting, someone who, you know, sets up the conference room, someone, and maybe you meet by Zoom too. So someone who sends out the meeting invite for a virtual meeting. And then some project team members, some team members who contribute ideas or suggestions for improvement, develop safe work practices in their individual work areas where they find that they're not being told what they should be doing to be safe, but they're informed on the state and federal regulations that the organization is held to, and they're able to form and develop those safe work practices for the work that they do every day. And then ultimately they could even develop the safety training around that, or the safety changes, like a change summary or something like that, to inform all of the folks in their department or area of responsibility. Any questions so far?
Not right now.
Okay, no problem.
Anyone else?
I have some, but I will wait till the end.
Okay, no worries. Thank you. So we talked about goals, right? So setting both short-term, 1 to 6 months goals with your folks, and also long-term goals. And these should be specific, measurable, obtainable, relevant, and time-bound. If SMART goals is a new tool for you, this outline here takes you through what the acronym stands for, and part of my long-term 6-hour course, we go through and we actually outline, the committee responsibilities and roles, and actually dive into SMART goals. But it's important to set goals so your committee members understand what they are there to do and the time that they are expected to do it in. And it also helps the chairperson quickly understand, like, if the committee needs any clarification, or if some of the initiatives are not moving in the progression that was outlined from the beginning, and really be able to dive into areas of need to help and support to move forward on some of the initiatives. This is an example of a safety committee agenda. So the cadence and agenda are really important to hold regular meetings and following a consistent schedule. It sets clear meeting agendas, publish them in advance and follow them. If the safety committee meeting continues to get canceled, every other time, people are going to start to believe that safety may not be as important, or the initiatives that the safety committee has outlined are not as important as other work. And so it's really important to set a cadence that is achievable with other responsibilities that folks may have. How can you fit it in? It's better to meet, twice to 4 times a year than not at all. But keep it consistent and always hold the meeting. And if you do have to cancel, always reschedule. Take meeting minutes that summarize the issues discussed, proposed action items, and the people responsible for following up on each item. Minutes should be published and provided to each committee member, as well as available to all employees as well. To read up on. So maybe they might not be a part of the safety committee or have a role, but maybe the meeting minutes or initiatives that are being worked on are posted in the break room or another area where all employees go to. So that way it's available for them to read and keep up to date on some of the initiatives and where everybody is. So yeah, that goes back to like publicizing the committee's accomplishments. You really only want to address like legitimate safety issues only. The committee should not be like a general gripe forum. You really should have a positive attitude and provide constructive criticism and really focus on not only are we, this is our avenue to bring up challenges or areas of improvement, but also actions, right? So we're meeting and we're talking about problems, but we want to identify actionable items to move forward to make improvements. Establishing metrics is our number 2. I'm very, very fond of metrics. I love metrics. But metrics are measures that are used to evaluate and track the performance of a facility's process, safety management program. So metrics can be used to quantify how a process has performed historically and how it might perform in the future, and where improvements can be made to keep workers safe. Okay. So safety management metrics. There's 2 different types of safety management metrics. And so one type is lagging metrics. So these are retrospective set of metrics that are gathered after the occurrence of an incident that has been established. Lagging metrics evaluate the causes of an incident and whether the factors that lead to the incident indicate potential reoccurring problems. So lagging metrics could be created after investigation has been completed and the root cause was determined. So things like reported injuries and or incidents would be a type of a lagging metric that you could keep track of. And some of these are actually required if you have 10 employees or more by OSHA. Reported loss of containment. So if you have chemicals or some type of hazardous material, reported loss of containment could be a lagging metric. Reporting near misses, reporting reoccurring events, and ultimately lost time that was lost due to an injury or illness in the workplace. So this type of metric is really the rear view mirror, right? So after things have already happened, they cannot be influenced or changed. And where we kind of wrap in continuous improvement is our second type of metric, and that is leading metrics. So preventative maintenance, such as like mechanical integrity or startup audits, right? Safety training that was planned versus completed, initiated versus completed action items through the safety committee. Emergency planning and response. Do we have those emergency planning plans in place, and are we practicing them to respond in the fashion that we should in case there was an emergency? Safety compliance audits would be also a leading metric. Workplace hazard assessments could be a leading metric. And management of change. So when I say management of change, it could be, this is the number of initiatives that the safety committee sought out to complete. How many of those were actually completed? So these would all be preventative, the road ahead metrics. There we go. So where can we kind of find some of these sources of data? So human resources is a good one to find lost time, training platforms, survey information, employee records. If you have a environment, health, and safety liaison, they may have workplace hazard assessments that they have completed. They may have emergency planning and response drills. Maintenance could have the mechanical integrity and startup audit information. So really, when going to set up these metrics, you're not going to find the source of information from one place. It's going to be from a couple of different areas to find the sources to then ultimately define your lagging and your leading metrics. Your committee could be tracking some of these metrics too, right? So training planned versus completed, anticipated versus completed action items, change of management, operations. They may have some safety compliance audits that they complete, or maybe that's an initiative through the safety committee that safety compliance audits are now required to do within a certain amount of time, and reporting of near misses. This is just an example on some ways that data could be displayed or formatted. Really, you have to think about your audience, right? And going back to, safety is everyone's responsibility. We're not just trying to show the improvements of safety or where we're at on our safety journey to finance people or senior operation folks, right, who most likely would have a little bit more experience in reviewing and reading data. And so really think about your people and what is the best method to really outline this to where it is readable for all and understandable. And so one form could be an electronic dashboard, right? I've seen that before. One could be a simple printable Excel document that's posted on like an operations board or in the break room, somewhere where all employees are able to review it and see it. When we collect data and we don't post it and have it available for people to see, we lose the value of the time and effort put into collecting the data. And ultimately, you know, some of this data you would want to share at your safety committee as well. And then I've even seen fill-in as well, where folks actually go up and physically fill or write in different information. And it could be color coded too, like red was a bad day. We had a safety issue on the 25th, right? And green could be there was no reported or injuries or illnesses or near misses. So these are just a couple of ways that you can format and display your data. And third is create a safety standard. So we need to determine the need of our standards, right? We need to know what are the state and federal regulatory requirements that our organization must follow. And we need to develop safety policies around that. And then we need to determine how are we going to actually train our people and get the awareness out on these safety policies. So a couple of examples of safety standards. Injury and illness reporting, right? We want to promote that we want people to report when they become hurt or when they have a near miss where they almost potentially had a reportable injury. We want to have safety standards around our personal protective equipment. Lockout, tagout if you have machines. Infectious disease prevention, material handling and storage, and emergency preparedness. So these are a couple of examples. And this outlines key elements to include in a safety policy. Ultimately, the safety standard that you're trying to adhere to, the scope, the purpose, definitions, responsibility, instructions on how the policy should be followed. A couple of details would be a history record, like a document record section that outlines when the policy was issued, when it should be reviewed, any policy or procedure that you put in writing and you want to hold the organization to needs to be on a sequence of review, because regulatory can change, but also the things that you do internally can change. You could have a new process, a new type of material, different things like that. And then think about how to train your people. Is it going to be instructor led? Is it going to be on the job training? Or is it going to be more of like a learning management system through technology-based training? So how do we build safety into daily management? So we need to determine those methods and implement those methods. So methods to build safety into daily management, right from the beginning, onboarding, through your onboarding process. In your job description, there could be a blurb or a few sentences about responsibility and safety adherence to state and federal regulatory requirements. When you are onboarding your new staff, orientation and new hire training, there should be some form of safety talk in there on, you know, expectations. And through like daily management, safety huddles. So daily safety report out. This could include lessons learned. It could include pre-crafted safety talks or toolbox talks. Maybe you have through the safety committee, you outline certain topics or areas of content that is most relevant in your organization, and you have your committee folks build that to then have these safety talks and toolbox talks with your folks throughout the organization. Maybe also, you know, through communication. So like standard work. Your standard work should include how to be safe with what the individual is working on or the objective of their task. It should be outlined in the most safest fashion that adheres to state and federal regulatory requirements, you know, including PPE and labeling of chemicals, how to handle certain operations. You can have a newsletter, right? A communication newsletter. Maybe this is something that is drawn up and driven by your safety committee. A safety communication board as well on, you know, where we're at with different metrics, what are the initiatives that are happening with the safety committee, what is the, you know, vision, mission, goals of the safety committee, so all can know where we're at. And visual management is a big part too. So by posting, you know, different reminders or using color codes, outlines, you know, similar to like 6S, you know, so folks start to recognize the visual floor markings or color code scheme and relate that to different safety items. So these are just a couple of examples of visual management. So we have aisleway markers, we have a communication board that includes safety, some notices of authorized personnel only or danger, moving machinery, first aid station, where is our first aid station, where are fire extinguishers, where are AEDs, eye wash stations, right? And we should be able to look up from anywhere in the work environment and be able to identify exactly where those are. Otherwise, in the case of an incident, we're going to be searching for those items. Have any safety daily management that they currently have that they want to share with everyone? Anything safety-wise embedded into daily management? That's okay. We're here to learn about how to do that. Reward and recognition programs. So determine your methods, understand your return on investment on these methods, and implement those methods. So methods of reward and recognition programs. So you can implement a safety spotlight where you reward for correction of a safety violation or even an implementation of a preventative measure. That's even better. If we can get people to think more preventative versus reactive, that is a win. Safety audits and walks. So reward for correction of safety violation or preventative measure. And a 6S program where it's 5S, where we have the sort, set in order, shine, standardize, and sustain, but we also include safety. And safety would always be our number one component for 6S. So we could implement a 6S program and reward for correction of safety violations or preventative measures, or just completed audits. So return on investment of safety reward and recognition program. So like, how do you calculate your return on investment for safety? So anything that you invest in for safety, minimum is 2 times your return on investment. It's that simple. You just take your safety investment, you double it and pay it back to your organization. For every dollar spent on safety today, you will save minimum of $2 in the future, whether that's through insurance claims and workman's comp, lost time, all of those things. So investment into safety, minimum double return on investment. And commitment to continuous improvement. This is where, you know, the things that we put in place and try and establish a safety committee, and write policies and procedures, figure out what our metrics are and how we want to record that and display all of that. As our organization changes, we ultimately always will be committing to continuous improvement, right? So what we put in place, we're always going to be evaluating. We're always going to be looking, how can we include more people? How can we improve upon what we're finding, where our challenges are? And so ultimately through continuous improvement, it's the commitment to just consistently analyze your safety program based on facts to address root causes and system weaknesses. And as soon as they are identified, speaking about it and actually putting actions in place to improve, which this all leads to a long-term system improvement for a safety program. Successful safety management programs, they plan consistently and promote proper safety through continuous improvement. So as you are maybe already in your journey of a safety program or are looking to establish a safety program, keep in mind that the commitment to safety and establishing a safe and healthy culture is never ending. And there's always, areas or opportunities for improvements, new employees to train, new hazards to address. And these challenges keep the job interesting and rewarding. But through a top-notch safety management program, you will gain a systematic approach through continuous improvement initiatives to evaluate, improve, and review your safety activities to increase your organizational success on adhering to state and federal regulatory requirements and ultimately keeping your organization safe. And those are the 6 items on how to create an effective safety culture. So I can take questions.
Okay. How's it going? I'm Ryan. I got a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so I work at Orchid Orthopedic Solutions in Chelsea, and we kind of have the lean daily management, and then we've kind of adjusted to CCCs, which is Cell Communication Center and Plant Communication Center. My question is, how do you try to keep, or how do you keep engagement with the employees or operators or such that are on the floor? Right now, our metrics are, if we do have a safety incident, we record it red. If we do not, we are green. And then we have kind of a daily count of how many days we've been since we had a last incident. So we have a little bit of a communication there. But like our last safety incident might have been like 50 days ago. And then in one area, it's been over 200 days. And how do you just keep them like to show that safety is important, but it's been 200 days and they're like, listen, I don't care about it unless we actually have something. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah. So great question. So going back to reward and recognition, trying to find that slide. Here we go. So maybe having like a safety spotlight. So a reward for a certain area, or, however you want to structure it, for having no a reward for correction of the safety violation or preventative measure. So I would not recommend that we reward on not having any safety incidences, because that is a barrier for reporting. We want to encourage folks to report. And so they will report, and then we reward on like the correction of the safety violation, or make acknowledgement on the team who put effort towards the correction, or preventative measure even. So if there was a near miss that was reported, how do we spotlight those folks who, you know, put the preventative measure in place to, you know, hopefully mitigate that safety issue going down the road. Same with like safety audits and walks too. So if you could find ways to reward or recognize on correction of safety violations or preventative measures, that gets them engaged in having like the mindset of, it's not just about not having a reportable of an incident or a near miss. It's about actually recognizing that there's a problem, or that a problem could have happened, and actually doing something about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. What you said, we also do as well. So each
You do?
week, every single employee has to come up with a safety observation. So kind of like a preventative, you know. So we've been doing this for like 6 months or so, and we're running low on potential things that could cause. So it's getting difficult to continue to find things. Obviously, there's things here and there, but it's just that engagement, because it's like, all right, I'm not sure how to reward when everyone is already kind of like has to. And so anyways, it's just, yeah, I'm just trying to learn, and I just had a question there. So I think, you know, I can try to take something out of today. So thank you.
Oh, no, absolutely. So you're kind of getting to a point where you're finding that you're kind of drying up on opportunities for prevention.
Correct. Yeah, we're kind of getting lower. I mean, we're starting to move some equipment, so we might find some again here. But we've been at like, people have been finding little tiny things here and there, like, okay, hey, some cords were, you know, dangling behind a computer, you know, things like that. But a lot of the big main safety things are definitely been cleaned up, and we take care of those, and then we move on. But it's hard to recognize or reward everyone when every single person in the shop turns in a safety observation for preventative. So that's where
great.
it's, yeah, it's kind of difficult
My
there.
other suggestion would be, you know, do you need to uh, take your criteria to the next level for more like, you know, maybe add a layer of, you know, prevention could be, you know, creating these safety talks or toolbox talks, or add a layer of safety trainings or something that gets your people engaged in creating content, but also learning the content, and then feeling responsible, or that they have a role in providing information to their peers,
Okay.
would be another suggestion.
Okay. Yeah, maybe we can
Is-
try something like that.
Yeah.
The
So
one-
if you're
the one thing I would add in too is you know, it might be good for you to like doing the daily or the weekly. I understand it, but sometimes afterwards, you know, if it's really run its course, to Brittany's point, having like the weekly safety thing, I would also say encouraging people to go to other people's areas. So you switch it up, because a new set of eyes will see things. And
yes.
it's interesting when a department knows that they're going to switch areas, how they clean things up.
Right, right.
That is a
Okay.
great point.
Yeah.
Any other suggestions from people on the phone?
All right, thank you.
No problem. Anyone else?
Good morning, Amir here. I actually have a question. If you spent any time with, or your company as a consultant on ISN platforms and the paperwork and regulations and all of that.
ISN, what does that stand for?
I don't know what it stands for. I know what it does.
What does that do? Maybe, I'm not quite sure.
So it is a platform where your customers, since we have employees that go to customer sites and install equipment, they have the capability to review us, and we have to provide safety documentation manuals and what our procedures and policies are, and then you have to upload it, and then they rate you, and it's a very painful process to go through, right? And obviously then the rating depends on the person that's looking at it as well, and if they find it and which page that's on. And our safety manual, it's like 285 pages. So we're looking for somebody that could help us out with that process.
Understood. Yes, through being employed through different businesses and through my own business, I have helped create safety standards and policies and procedures. And I guess my question would be, does your customer give you criteria that they're looking for to know where to build your effort?
Yes, they will let you know, hey, we need to have, even though we're not dealing with ammonia, right? You gotta have ammonia safety handling precautions, right? And they will say, okay, this is the outline for a criteria, but we don't utilize ammonia or any of that at our work. So we normally do not have that in our paperwork, right? So they will give you criteria and things to basically look for.
Yes. So yes, would be able to help with that.
Okay,
You have
perfect.
experience. Yeah.
I will reach out.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Well, if no one else has any questions, we can get back 7 minutes of our morning here, and Andy will be sending my PowerPoint out. My contact information is on there, so if you have any questions that come up, feel free to reach out. I'm here as a resource.
This was great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody.
You too. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.